telling, folks. I want to get to this video clip. And you can hop on over to, Facebook and those kinds of things and find out what's going on. Geez, hang on here. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to get the other video up for us to watch. I'm going to get that going here in a second. And let's see if it's ready. Just about. Got it. All right, there we go. All right. The thing about sharing the screens is you can't really have all of them open. You want to be, the ideal thing would be you'd have such an incredible computer network and all of that. You could have all this prepped and ready to go. Maybe they do. I can't do that. My computers would never handle all that. It's too much for me. Okay, so let me get this shared here. Okay, so this is a video that I couldn't believe when I saw it earlier this week.
Is there an end in sight? I mean, what is the metric that would be used for maybe getting rid of the mask if we continue?
So notice that there was a quick smile out of this man's face. It's just brutal. So they're starting a segment talking about California, mask mandate for kids, vaccine mandates for kids to do schools. So they're going to hop right over here. We're going to have this interview between GLORIA ALLRED, a Clinton lawyer, and Dave Rubin. He's the kind of a former lefty, came from the Young Turks. Now he has his own show called Rubin Report. He's kind of more of a liberal/libertarian-esque kind of guy, far from the right. I don't think that at all. Gay guy. That seems, wrote a decent enough book. And they're going to have this conversation about COVID and restrictions and lockdowns. And I just want to touch on some of these things that come up here.
Like the federal vaccine mandate.
All right, so let me get the volume back up.
Are, to be very clear, I think that if anyone wants to get the vaccine and they...
All right, so I don't want to waste a lot of time. Rubin does the typical, because you almost have to do this now, because you have to deflect that you're an anti-vaxxer. So you got to do the whole pitch about, I support vax, I can support people doing whatever they want to do, blah, 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 blah. And then I just don't think any of it's working. I don't think
to flatten the curve, a phrase that we don't talk about anymore. Did we ever flatten the curve? Why don't we talk about that curve anymore? The idea that now it's about some sort of magical, as Joe Biden said, which is what Gavin Newsom's alluding to, it's about some sort of 97 or 90.
Right. So he's just going through the different things here. What I really want to focus on is how she responds to him and what he's trying to get at. All right. Let's get to Gloria, because her response is very, very telling. Very, very telling.
And a health issue. And I ask you, Dave, do you think there should not?
All right, hold on. Let me back up because I want to make sure you hear what she has to say. There we go.
Of COVID. And in addition to that, I think it's really important to understand this is not a political issue. It shouldn't be. It should be a scientific and a health issue. And I ask you, Dave, do you think there should not be a mandate for kids in schools to have to get vaccine for chickenpox, for mumps, for polio, for so many other vaccines?
All right, so I'm going to stop her. And folks, if you have not had this conversation with anyone on the left, you will. This is their talking point. This vaccine should be okay for kids and everyone because everyone else gets measles, mumps, rubella, whatever. And what Dave should do is point out that the impact on children for those illnesses is like exponentially more prevalent, dangerous, contagious. And we can have Robert Harriman who can throw the statistics right back at you so you can have the actual figures for you. COVID hospitalization, I recently pulled the data off of CDC, posted on my Facebook wall, and it was hospitalizations at the peak in that age group from 18 and younger at the peak was like 2%, 2 in 100,000. 2 in 100,000. That's the number. So we're talking about. I guarantee all the things that she's talking about is significantly more impactful.
That they are required to have in order to go to school.
All of those things were tested for years. As we know, we've rushed out.
He just goes on like the safety of the vaccine because that's what that's not relevant to really a good rebuttal of what she's trying to say. because then you're basically calling into question the vaccine. You're basically sounding like an anti-vaxxer, and I know that's not what he was trying to do, because he basically went out of his way not to do that in the first part of the interview.
And the Bill of Rights. And if we're suddenly saying, oh, this isn't about rights because there is some virus out there with basically a 99% recovery rate, and I just gave you the CDC numbers for children. Yes, children could transmit the disease, although they rarely do, but the parents are all vaccinated if they're good.
So again, this is the typical argument of, if you're vaccinated, who's really at risk? And she's not real happy about all of this. He's going to continue a little bit further before he throws back to her.
Decent citizens. So I don't really understand the connection, actually.
Are you a good, decent citizen? Are you vaccinated?
It's nobody's business whether I'm
Aha.
vaccinated. That's
Aha! 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 Oh, oh, God, I love my head. Duct tape. Aha! Yes, Gloria feels, because you're not virtue signaling, you're not out there proudly putting on your thing that all of my medical information is for everyone to know. It doesn't matter if I've had COVID, if I've had the vax, it doesn't matter. It's just, if you're not willing to proudly discuss these things and think it needs to be this wide open conversation, aha, you must be one of the evil ones, the unpeople. And so Dave just tries to throw it back at her. He kind of handles it all right.
Well,
Wait,
history is not your business, nor yours is mine.
Let Gloria finish.
If you have the right to choose what you should do with your own body, I respect that. But when what you
look at Dave's face. I want to watch Dave's face. I'll try not to pause it there. Watch his face, because he's basically like, I don't believe you because you're contradicting yourself. Watch.
your own body,
I didn't share the screen back. I'm sorry, folks. I got to go back. I got to make sure you get the whole. You got to get the whole thing. Let's get this. Watch.
have the right to choose what you should do with your own body. I respect that. But when what you choose to do can be dangerous to others, then we're in a whole different area.
Notice that's not true at all. Not true at all. Where do you get that?
So, for example, people are mandated to wear seatbelts.
A seatbelt. Her go-to is a seatbelt. If I don't have my seatbelt on and I'm in a car accident, I'm a danger to other people? What? Because my body will fly into those other people? Is that what she's trying to conflate? Horrible example. Real common one you'll see. Dave not having that one. She can see real quickly that she's walked into one that's not a good example. So she's going to have to redirect to something else, which is what she does.
When they drive. Why? Because if they get into an accident, it's not only going to be dangerous to them, it's going to be dangerous to others.
It's not at all about the seatbelt. The seatbelt has nothing to do, me being strapped in or not, has nothing to do with being a danger to you. That's just silly.
People can smoke, knowing the danger and the risks of smoking, but they can't just put secondary smoke into somebody else.
So now we're conflating the whole secondary smoke thing. That's her thing. That's her go-to about the vaccine. So it's kind of like, you know, kids should get vaxxed because they could carry it to other people. And even though the vaccine is what I need you to get, and you could still get it, that's kind of where we're going with this, right? That's her rationale. So that's where Rubin's going to call her out on.
Apartment or home where it can be very dangerous to other individuals. If you exercise your choice not to get a vaccine, you get to do that, but you also have to pay the consequences of that. And the consequences may be that you're not going to be able to have a job anymore.
Got that? Got that? That this person is a high profile lawyer. Said that again. Let's hear her say it again.
Of that. And the consequences may be that you're not going to be able to have a job anymore. The
consequences of that is you may not be able to have a job anymore.
Of that. And the consequences may be that you're not going to be able to have a job anymore. The consequences may be that you're going to end up in the hospital.
And then she goes down the typical talking points of, if you're not vaccinated, you're at greater risk. You could get more sick. You could get hospitalized. You could be hospitalized longer. You could take up valuable bed space. You could die, blah, 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 blah. And now we have conflicting data on that. But the point is the authoritarian nature of you must tell me if you're vaccinated or not, be a good citizen, and aha, you're not telling me, and you don't have a right to a job if you don't follow what this person says. Alex likes to use that term, authoritarian psychopath. There's one on the left, folks. There she is, authoritarian psychopath, right there for you, just so you know. Just so you know. So this is a clip. It was begrudgingly on Fox. I cannot stand Fox. Anyway, the rest of the clip.
Serious COVID, and you may die of heart disease or other.
Yeah, there's all
Obvious to me that you're a progressive, because what lies under every progressive is a really sort of hysterical authoritarian.
Well,
Everyone
that's
is
a
allowed to make
sexist
a decision for themselves. Here, we're in Los Angeles right now. I was just over at the studio that I couldn't get into over there. Which hospitals in Los Angeles?
She's going to come back to that remark. She threw it out there. He didn't even catch it. Look at her face. That's the face of a leftist queuing up her response to change the topic with a personal insult. So she's gonna sidestep all of what he's talking about to just get to the remark. You'll see.
Hysterical is very, very sexist.
Right, here we go.
Something. First of all, you made a sexist remark. Calling a woman hysterical is very, very sexist. So I think you should stay on.
Like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. I had to actually Google that to confirm that that's like a widespread lefty thing, that women being called hysterical is considered sexist. I'm not really familiar with that nonsense. Or whatever.
The issues, instead of engaging in name calling.
She was hysterical. She was insane. She's like talking about, if you don't get the vaccine, you can't work. Can't work. You don't have the right to a job. That was what she was saying. Oh, geez, Louise.
We've had certain for the point at which there is a crisis, as is going on in many, many states where there are no ICU beds available and people have to.
Complete false. Complete false. There's not been the collapse of any hospitals. They keep their ICU beds because that's how they fund their hospital. So they're full of people, not just with COVID, but also with people having other surgeries and other procedures done. Complete falsehood, complete hysterics. If anything, the curves right now have dipped and are dipping even more so, particularly in states like mine in Florida. So those are the high points that I wanted to touch on. Their conversation does continue.
Drive miles and miles.
No pictures of them and no videos.
Yeah, he's talking about the hospitals, and none of these hospitals have collapsed and all of that. So, yeah, it's just another one of these things that people are throwing out there, and it's not.
Hey, we're News Talk with Brandon and Bob. We're here to tell you about some of the facts, so you don't have to waste your time watching CNN.
We don't want you wasting any time with CNN.
Or Fox, or MSNBC, or some of these other guys that are making a whole lot of money.
Et cetera, et cetera.
It's not paying.